Hello!
Hello!
We are Mishra from Live Music Now. My name is Kate.
And my name is Ford.
Today we are in the Peak District National Park just outside of Sheffield, and we're going to be singing you some songs and telling you stories all about the woods.
It's quite cold outside though, so we're going to go inside and play you a song. The first song we're going to play is called Taru, which means tree. Look out, because we're going to magically make a tree grow during the song.
Sea by sea we grow, and leaf by leaf we blow. Takes a man to know who to fell and who to grow. By root we share the rain, the earth, the air. Each is born to fight for life within the light. Taru, 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 grown and grafted on. Taru, 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 grown and grafted on.
Did you see the tree grow? That was a song called Taru, and now we have a story for you about our 3 favourite things: music, joy and life.
Our story today takes place in a woods. And in these woods there live some magical creatures. Some magical creatures you might have heard of, like the fairies, and some magical creatures you might not, like the boggarts of Yorkshire. Has anyone heard of a boggart? Has anyone seen a boggart? Well, if you haven't, don't worry, I'll tell you what they look like. Boggarts have bright blue skin, as pale as ice. They've got huge green eyes and gaping big mouths, and their arms are incredibly long and drag along the floor as they walk. But worst of all, their hands are as cold as a mountain stream in January. Oh, that's cold! This is a story I learnt from a wise old storyteller called Taffy Thomas. Once there was a fairy king who ruled over a magical land as far as the eye could see. He lived in these woods where I'm telling you this story, and the woods were his home and his palace. Now, like every good fairy king, he had a beautiful fairy queen who gave him 2 hard-working and loyal sons and a joyous and creative daughter. Tragically, the fairy queen died as she gave birth to the youngest of his children, his joyous daughter. Now, the king loved his 3 children. His sons helped him run the kingdom and were very sensible and useful, and his daughter was just an absolute joy. She loved to sing and dance and laugh and fill the woods with her music. Now the king lived a blessed and happy life, and he only ever really had one problem. That was deciding which of his beloved fairy children would take over the throne after he died. He puzzled over this long and hard, and he grew older, and his beard grew longer and longer until it touched his toes. And it wasn't until the king lay upon his deathbed that he had an idea. He called his trusted advisor over and left him with a riddle. His instructions were, give 1 gold piece to each of my children, and whoever can use it to fill the woods from top to bottom shall take over this land as far as the eye can see. And with his dying wish spoken, the king closed his eyes forever, and his daughter began to sing a sad and mournful song.
As time draws near, my dearest dear, and you and I must part. What little you know of the grief and woe in my poor aching heart. Each night
So, how were the Fairy King's children going to solve the riddle? How could they fill the whole woods from top to bottom? Do you have any ideas? Well, let me tell you about the first brother's idea. He was the oldest child and he was very quick thinking. The very next day he went to the market and with his gold piece he bought as many candles as he could buy. He took them back to the woods and spread them out in every nook and cranny of the woods, lighting them one by one as he went, and soon the whole woods was magically aglow with candlelight. A beautiful sight, I can tell you. When he was done, he called the old advisor over and was about to say, "Look, I've solved the riddle, haven't I?" But he'd forgotten about one important thing. The oldest brother had forgotten about the boggarts. Now boggarts love to cause trouble. As soon as they saw those candles neatly placed around, they could think of only one thing to do. They opened their cavernous mouths and they huffed and they puffed and they blew every candle out in the woods. Well, the old advisor, he patted the first son on the back and said, "Never mind, lad, perhaps next time." Now it was the second brother's turn. He was the middle child and he was very, very cunning. He had what he thought was a brilliant idea. He went to the tallest tree in the woods and climbed to the very top where the king of the birds lived. And he said to the king of the birds, "I ask you one favour. I would like one spare feather from every bird in the woods, and in exchange I'll give you this shiny gold piece." Now, the king of the birds was a magpie, and as we all know, magpies love shiny things. As soon as he saw that lovely shiny gold piece, he said, "Caw-caw, yes please!" And he went off around the woods collecting feathers. Soon enough, the middle brother had a heap of feathers at his feet, and when the king of the magpies had done, he picked them all up and threw them into the air, scattering them around the woods, and it was a very windy day too, so soon it was like it was snowing feathers. He beckoned the old advisor over and was about to say, "Look, haven't I done a good job?" But he'd forgotten about one thing, and that was the boggarts. As soon as the boggarts saw those beautiful feathers falling like snow, there was only one thing that they could think to do. With their long gangly arms, they reached up and grabbed every feather, and soon they were all a crumpled heap on the floor. Well, the old advisor patted the middle brother on the back and said, "Never mind, lad, perhaps next year." Now that the two brothers had failed, it was the daughter's turn. Like the first brother, she went to the market, but she bought herself a banjo. And while her brothers went home and schemed and planned, she practiced and practiced until she could play a barnstorming tune. What she did next was invite every creature of the woods, from bird to boggart and her brothers too, to meet her by the old oak tree and see her attempt to solve her father's riddle. Soon as everyone had arrived, she began to play. Well, the tune was so infectious that everyone began to dance and laugh and make merry and tell jokes, and even the boggarts forgot about making trouble and joined in on the fun. When the tune had finished and the cheers had died down, the old advisor stepped forward and said, "Wow, cracking tune, absolutely loved it. But I don't understand, how have you filled the woods from top to bottom?" And the daughter said, "Well, I have filled the woods not one time, but 3 times over. Once with my music, another time with the joy of the people listening to my music. And when you add music and joy together, you get life. So even in the time of my father's death, I have filled the woods with life again." Wow, the old advisor and everyone in the woods was very impressed, and they immediately crowned her queen. Her first act was to invite her brothers to live with her forever and help her run the kingdom, on the condition that they allowed her to fill the woods with music, joy and life, as she had always done before.
Thank you so much for listening. We've been Mishra from Live Music Now, and if you've enjoyed our concert today, then why don't you get outside and find some stories and songs of your own. Bye!
Thanks, bye bye!